Can you imagine this? Handing out a warm meal to someone homeless in Houston could land you behind bars. Yet, only steps away, people casually sip $300 wine beneath shimmering golden lights. This is Texas, once known as the land of opportunity, freedom, and the American dream. But behind the glittering cityscape lies a darker truth, a place where poverty is now treated as a crime. There are no protests or a public outcry, just silent, heartbroken people sitting helplessly by their tents as they're torn apart in the dead of night. No home, no possessions, no place to go, stripped of their right to even exist as normal human beings. Today, let's pull back the curtain and reveal the shocking reality hidden in Texas, where a state once celebrated for freedom is now pushing its most vulnerable people to the edge of despair. Have you ever stopped to think how Texas, a place that symbolized hope and opportunity, is now openly targeting its poorest residents? Just decades ago, this state was America's shining star, where factory jobs, modest suburban homes, and warm family dinners made the American dream real for millions, especially baby boomers. But now, Texas has become a nightmare for those without homes, where homeless people are pursued as if they're criminals. Recent figures from 2025 are staggering. 50,000 homeless residents across Texas, nearly 8,000 elderly. These shocking numbers have never been seen before. Imagine your own parents sleeping in broken-down cars, huddled beneath cold bridges, or curled up on stone benches at bus stops. People who dedicated 40 years to society, who raised and educated their children, now left to struggle alone, wondering if they'll find food today or if authorities will chase them away yet again. They haven't committed crimes. They're simply too old or too poor to afford skyrocketing rents as their pensions remain frozen. Authorities claim they're simply cleaning up the city, but cleaning up means bulldozing tent cities every month, tossing the belongings and memories of elderly people onto garbage trucks like meaningless trash. Each cleared camp is recorded as progress, but nobody asks the haunting question: where do these displaced people go? Who cares for them now? Texas has replaced compassion with cold, hard statistics. The elderly, once respected for their wisdom and experience, are now viewed as burdens to society. If economic value determines a person's worth, how many of us are on the brink of suffering the same fate? In Texas, homelessness isn't just tragic, it's treated like a crime. People without shelter aren't considered unfortunate. They're labeled dangerous, forcibly removed from sight like something shameful. Homelessness isn't a personal mistake. It's a direct result of inequality. A system that treats those who no longer produce wealth or pay taxes as unwanted, unsightly burdens. Night after night in Austin, countless invisible souls weave silently among the glittering bars and high-rise buildings, desperately trying to survive in the shadows of luxury. And it's not just Austin. This is now common in Dallas, Houston, and cities across Texas. The chilling reality is how quickly this disturbing sight is becoming normalized. People who once proudly served their country, raised families, and lived fulfilling lives are now swept aside like garbage, punished simply for being poor, labeled threats to public safety. Authorities won't openly say, "We'll imprison the poor," but their clever regulations do exactly that. If you sleep on sidewalks, you'll face fines. Pitch a temporary tent, you'll get penalties. Unable to pay, the consequences are frighteningly predictable. You're now a criminal in the eyes of the law. These innocent individuals aren't struggling people anymore. They're viewed as security risks to be erased from public view. The tragedy of Austin isn't isolated. It reflects a dangerous trend quietly spreading throughout America, criminalizing poverty. Elderly people are driven away for spoiling the landscape. The poor vanish from city maps, and acts of compassion, like helping someone in need, are labeled as disturbing public order. Misfortune has become a crime, and poverty is viewed as a punishable choice. Think about it. If losing your home automatically makes you dangerous, who among us is truly safe? America once proudly stood for humanitarianism, a nation where helping your neighbor was celebrated. But now, even handing out food to the needy is turning into a criminal act in Houston, Texas, right before our eyes. Outside Houston's public library, volunteers from Food Not Bombs regularly bring hot meals, friendly smiles, and a simple belief that no one should go hungry in America's wealthiest nation. But instead of gratitude, they're slapped with tickets, not because they caused trouble, but simply because they handed out food without official permission. This disturbing twist reveals a heartbreaking reality. Kindness itself is becoming criminalized. While wealthy Texans raise their glasses, thousands starve in silence. The land once praised as the heart of the American dream is now a place where compassion is a punishable offense. Outrage erupts in Houston. More than 45 volunteers have already been fined for the simple act of sharing food. But wait, the struggle is far from over. Around 30 more good-hearted people are still lined up for trial, treated like criminals even though they spent their own money and free time helping hungry neighbors. City officials claim they are just keeping order, boldly predicting they will crush the remaining cases, as if kindness itself is on trial. The city's so-called solution feels like a trap. Leaders pushed food giveaways to a single block on Reisner Street, shoving both volunteers and homeless residents into a hidden alley away from curious eyes. It is charity in the shadows, compassion squeezed into a narrow slot in space and time, as though love needs a permit to breathe. Isn't this chilling? Administrative rules now smother even the gentlest acts of mercy. When giving a sandwich becomes a crime, have we drifted too far from our own humanity? What is scarier, empty stomachs or a society that sees hunger as an inconvenience to be swept aside? If a warm gesture demands official approval, how long before we must ask permission just to care? Life on the streets is brutal. Without a legal roof, people patch together tents, tarps, or cardboard walls, the last fragile shield for their dignity. In Texas, though, even these nylon huts are targeted. Sweeps thunder through Austin, Dallas, and beyond under banners proclaiming urban cleanup, while bulldozers and fire hoses erase entire camps in minutes. Picture the chaos. Police and sanitation crews roll in without warning, hurling clothes, blankets, and medicines into garbage trucks, as though no life ever existed there. Some residents end up in hospitals with hypothermia by sunrise, their IDs gone, their medications lost, and their hope crushed beneath crushing wheels. The fallout is devastating. Vital documents vanish along with every worldly possession, leaving people locked out of assistance lines, job searches, and even basic shelters. One report from the National Homelessness Law Center slammed these clear-outs as both cruel and self-defeating. Instead of fixing the crisis, sweeps scatter men and women across new corners of the city, making outreach nearly impossible while trapping them in a vicious cycle. No housing, no papers, no chance. The question grows louder. Does ripping down a tent really erase injustice? Or does it bury ugly truth beneath gleaming concrete where no one has to look? Now brace yourself. In Texas, even official shelters can feel more dangerous than the open air. Many homeless residents whisper that they would rather huddle under a bridge than step inside facilities that promise safety, yet deliver anxiety. Stories spill out night after night. Women, single mothers, and elders lie awake clutching their bags, terrified of theft, sudden eviction, or worse. One former Houston cashier lost her apartment, tried to shelter for 3 nights, then fled in tears. I felt like prey tossed into a lion's den. No one would notice if I vanished at dawn, she gasped. Her fear is not rare. Some shelters lack locks, cameras, or private rooms. Understaffed and underfunded, they cram people shoulder to shoulder, while private operators chase funding streams rather than true care. The final safety net rips apart, leaving desperate Texans to decide between danger inside and danger outside. Meanwhile, billions vanish. For years, Texas leaders have poured enormous sums into ending homelessness, yet the crisis only deepens. Where does that money go? Look at Austin. Officials announced massive budgets, but downtown still glitters with luxury towers while hundreds of tents clog bridges, parks, and old lots. Encampments are not ending. They're just pushed from block to block, people treated like objects on a chessboard rather than human beings in need. Follow the cash trail. Contract fees, policy consultants, and glossy media campaigns devour huge chunks of funding. Housing programs drown in paperwork. Wait lists stretch for months, and strict rules shut out the very residents who need help most. Urban revitalization moves forward, displacing the poor so luxury projects can rise where their shelters once stood. Here is the stark truth. The more money spent, the less relief felt by men and women surviving on concrete. This is not just about tents and tarps. It is about dignity, safety, and the soul of a state that once prided itself on freedom. If shelters become hunting grounds and kindness needs a license, what future remains for any of us caught on the wrong side of fortune? Houston's shining success story has dimmed. A city once applauded for its bold housing-first model is now ripping up tents, rolling out patrol cars, and slapping up plywood walls to hide encampments from well-kept neighborhoods. Instead of lifting people, officials just erase the sight of poverty. Gone are long-term plans to steady families. In their place stand quick-fix raids and temporary fencing. Homeowners get a cleaner view, while the poorest residents vanish into shadows. Residents feel lost. Billions pour in, yet more people sleep on concrete. We hear talk of a war on homelessness, but what we really see are extra officers, taller barriers, and shrinking empathy. Why this backward slide? Too many programs chase symptoms, not causes. No one tackles runaway rent, crushing medical bills, or shaky wages. Leaders simply shove anyone unsightly farther from downtown. Out of sight, out of mind. The bigger the budget, the clearer the picture. Compassion is not guiding policy. When human lives are treated like smudges on a postcard skyline, money only coats hardship in colder paint. So here's the hard question. Why spend millions sweeping tents away instead of helping people stand tall? How modern can a city be if it prizes spotless sidewalks over human dignity? A quiet exodus. Texas, home of booming oil fields and gleaming tech hubs, now watches a silent migration. It's not tycoons fleeing taxes. It's working families escaping despair. Rent rockets upward, shelter rules tighten, and tiny safety nets tear apart. With every new street cleanup, battered cars rumble out of Austin, Houston, and Dallas, chasing the simple dream of being treated like people. Over 5 years, the tally of Texans drifting elsewhere has jumped more than 30%. They are not chasing riches. They are running from ruin, pushed out by policy. No official banishment exists, yet relentless fines, midnight evictions, and blank stares push residents inch by inch from their own homeland. Quiet exclusion hurts as deeply as open force. When lifelong citizens must abandon Texas just to feel human, we aren't facing isolated misfortune. We are staring at systemic failure. Compassion on the auction block. The wreckage left after each sweep isn't limited to shredded tarps or crushed pillows. The real loss is the slow erosion of communal heart. Texas once bragged about tight-knit neighborhoods and a helping spirit. Those values are now traded for urban order written in sterile memos. Behind every forced move lurks an invisible eraser, wiping away memories of a nation that once honored the hands who built it. When a person's presence is labeled a threat, society slices off part of its own soul. A stage without room for extras. Skyscrapers may gleam, megaprojects may rise, but a city that offers no corner for the vulnerable is only a glittering stage. Anyone who cannot afford a starring role is yanked behind the curtain and disappears. If we grow numb to these vanishings, who will speak when the next group is branded a burden? New stories, same streets. Texas is shaking under its own weight. Each press event sings about new spending, yet sidewalks stay packed with people who cannot rest even one safe night. Walk a mile with Maria. She once cared for children at a daycare in South Austin. Layoffs shadowed her like storm clouds. Rent tripled, pay shrank, eviction followed. Now she and her teen son sleep in their hatchback, calling it camping to soften the pain. Police flashlights at 3 a.m. shatter that illusion. Her story is not rare. Drive Interstate 35 after sunset and see families cooking dinner on propane flames beside the road. Tech campuses tower 15 yards away, yet feel like distant planets. Wages sit in the mud while rents rocket toward the clouds. New apartments target high earners who never arrive. Teachers and nurses wonder if they will ever afford even a broom closet studio. Corporate billboards brag Houston is open for business. Tax breaks cascade onto luxury towers, while longtime carpenters and chefs hunt Craigslist ads for couches to rent. Sweeps that shatter lives. Every sweep of an encampment tells a darker tale. Hazmat teams hose down the only blankets some children own. Stuffed animals are tossed into dumpsters while officials clap for restoring order. The myth of forced shelter. Leaders claim harsh tactics push people into beds, yet shelters often fill by sundown. A mother 5 minutes late is told to sleep on the sidewalk outside the locked door that promises help. Inside, tension rules. Fights spark over missing shoes. Burnout swallows staff. Privacy is a dream. Women clutch bags through sleepless nights, terrified of theft or assault. Mental health help is a ghost promise. Wait lists stretch for months. Without therapy, fear spirals and self-medication draws new arrests. One camping ticket becomes a warrant. A warrant leads to jail. Jail time ruins housing chances. The cycle spins faster than any police cruiser. Dollars go elsewhere. Texas spends billions on shiny express lanes while tiny home villages wait in dusty folders. Budget hearings end with delays. Families freeze through another winter. Displacement creeps into small towns. Parking lots morph into makeshift trailer parks. Schools scramble to feed kids who arrive without addresses. Teachers buy extra snacks because lunch may be a child's only meal. History whispers a warning. The Dust Bowl drove farmers away. Today's storm is financial. Cars packed with belongings crawl north, leaving sun-scorched highways behind. Businesses feel the shock. Restaurants shorten hours. Hospitals lack night staff. Tourism loses charm. Creative workers cannot afford nearby apartments. Faith groups and grassroots hope. Ministers, rabbis, and imams plead for mercy. Their voices echo, yet action lags. Still, hope flickers. Retired builders raise micro-cottages on donated land. University students tutor displaced children in library basements. Imagine leadership that matches that passion. Tie tax breaks to affordable rents. Turn vacant hotels into studio flats. Hire the homeless to restore city parks. The tools exist. The question is willpower.